I'm ready to get into our seventh session. It is called The Key to Transformative Marketing is a Transform Marketer, How to Plan. So from here, we are moving into a whole new level together. And so let's just work through it. Sessions 1 through 7, you've seen. And we always begin by consolidating our learning and sort of getting oriented. So if you'll look right now, I'll point out that we began all 7 weeks focused on these 5 objectives. We'll come back to them. If we are on track today, we should have achieved or be achieving these 5. If you want to know, but what do I do to make sure I don't miss any of those 5? All you have to do is keep up with the checkpoints. These checkpoints are each of the steps in your journey to a basically cohesive understanding of the fundamentals. If you understand these, then you're prepared to graduate from 50 and be in the right place. Imagine that these are just a checklist, but what I'm going to really do is show you what position you need to be on in the chessboard in order to win from here. And that's what we're going to talk about together. But first, let's just review last week. We do this every time. If I go up to session 6 and get to the core teaching from last week, we talked about how to create your own expert. We talked about identifying a source of expertise. We actually took a web page. We analyzed it with a goal-focused algorithm. That algorithm produced an FAQ from the web page, which we then fed to a prompt. That's step 3. And that prompt became an expert who could do a better job of explaining what was on that web page than probably most of the staff. We found something last week that I want to point out to all of you. It should only take 5 minutes to create an expert, but it could take 5 years to get expertise. Do you understand? Here's the good news. You have expertise, many of you, experiences, life, value that you don't even know about, or you know it, but you haven't been able to amplify it, put it into a framework, and turn it into something you can sell in the world. That's what we're doing together, some of us. Now, that was last week. And by the way, it isn't even necessarily for selling in the world. It's for making your company run better. It's for impacting your P&L. Now, this was last week's session, and there is a video already posted, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, of last week's session. So you can go back and watch this. And Roy, I don't know, for instance, if you've learned yet how to create your first expert, but you could literally follow last week's video. And when you're done, go out and create an expert. And your mind's going to open up to possibilities that are crazy. Again, since we've been working together for 10, 15 years, in many cases, Roy, we're going to see websites unnecessary. They're just going to be background for what's being launched this week, clunky as it is. All right. And so now, with that in mind, I'm ready to go forward for this week. So my first point today is we need to consolidate our learning. And that was reviewing our checkpoints and reviewing the teaching. Now, it is session 7. So how do we make certain that all this time over the last 6 weeks is really adding up to a new level of results in our world? That's where we're at right now. How do we make sure of that? And to help you with that, we're going to walk through the very same thing we opened with. We opened with 5 objectives for this program together. And now we're going to see how close each of us is to achieving those objectives. If you've achieved those objectives, you're in the right place on the AI business chessboard to win. So with that in mind, I'll go to that checklist itself, and let's start with the first thing. Dan, you're going to be queued up right after Steve Beaker shows us something, the MEC 50 badge. And I want you to understand that at the conclusion of today's session, if you meet all the criterion, you'll be able to get your first badge in the assessment program for MEC and its entire learning track system. Steve, could you share more about the badges, how they're going to get them, and even show us a picture of one if you have one you could pull up real quick with 50.
Hey guys, yeah, give me just a second. I can show that. But first off, how you'll receive them is we use a system called Accreditable that manages the credentials that you'll receive throughout your journey through the guild. And you will each be receiving an MEC 50 badge upon the completion. And then let me see if I can share real quick.
Yeah, you just concentrate on getting the screen shared, and I'll just mention a couple things while you're doing that.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
This is digitally encrypted, team. So it's literally on the blockchain. It's not some piece of paper that someone can lie about. It literally has a certificate behind it, and someone can trace it. It's a legitimate credential that belongs on your CV. And so know that we're paying extra to provide. I'd like to say we invented the service, but we just folded that service into our system and brought them in as an open source or as a SaaS provider. So they allow us to manage this with precision. And Steve, have you got that screen share? There you go. There you go. So this is the badge. Your name will appear on it, and your level is MEC 50. And MEC 50, you can see on Steve's screen, is part of a series that we'll look at in just a moment. If you satisfy this course's requirements, we're going to email you this badge. And when people click on it, it'll click through to the certificate and show the documentation behind it. Steve, anything you would add to that?
Yeah, I was going to show like an example of what the certificate looks like too.
Do that, brother.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm just pulling it up right now. I don't have one for 50 yet, but I'll have it here soon. But I'll show an example of what the 200 one looks like.
All right.
So as Flint mentioned, that you'll have your name on here, and it'll tell you when you're a member, like when you were a member, and then your certificate will look something just like this. And this is a public page that you can share on your LinkedIn, Facebook, any other social media platform you wish.
Okay. And some of you, if you're a reseller, every single person we bring in should get into MEC 50, earn this certification, and really get a foundational understanding of how to get the value out of the platform. And I also think it could be taught to specific verticals, but I don't want you to miss out. So I'm pointing out that if you satisfy the requirements we're going to continue to talk about today, you can get your badge. Okay. With that in mind, anybody have questions about that? No? All right. Then here's the next thing. You've invested at the right level of MeclabsAI. Team, I'm not selling, so don't hear it that way. But I want you to understand something. So I'm going to take you to this page. There are 3 levels, and I just want to make sure that you understand which level, how to distinguish the big difference. Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah, you'll need to share again, Flint.
Let me share that screen. So if you look at the 3 levels, we just released the 3rd level. This is strategic. It's still being finalized, that they're working around the clock on it. If you look at what I have in front of me, the point I want you to understand is, yes, there's a different set of experts, apps, and libraries. With more advanced experts, we're releasing more into strategic, but the real big difference is right here. In 100, you can have your own workspace, invite 3 different team members, and you can leverage what we've been learning. You have access to all of the experts, apps, and libraries that Meclabs has stood up as part of the package. At the next level, which is the advanced level, you have something, see this green box? This is an engineering consult. That's where you're able to build your own experts, apps, and libraries. Some of you don't need that. This is all you need. Some of you might want to build your own to accelerate your results. You can do that at this level. The 3rd level has 1 extra console, and at this level, you can build AI-powered tools using the things we've been teaching to put right in front of your customers. Those tools already are connected with APIs to Stripe. You can sell subscriptions, or you can generate leads through them. Those are the 3 levels, and I'm not pushing any of you to join one of them. I just want you to understand the difference, because that's part of my objectives for this course, that you know by the end what level is right for you. Okay? Does anybody have questions on that? Um, I'm being a little bit less exciting and interesting. I'm just trying to work through the homework. You know what I mean? This is the basic stuff we got to get right, because I don't want this course to end with you guys saying, "Wow, this was amazing," but actually you're not in the right place on the board to win. And as a teacher, I feel obligated to sort of walk through this systematically. Now, if you're in the right level and you can still qualify for your badge, the next one is you've planned your growth through the learning tracks. Here they are. You've seen me talk about them. They're at the top of every lesson. You just completed this one. This one you can do on your own time, and move to 100 and get your certification. That's an on-demand course, and it's the foundation of everything. And now I'm going to ask Dan to speak about 200 and 300 and Dhruv. And Dhruv, if you're queued up in just a moment, let's do this. Dan, talk to us about 200, and then let's pause. Let me have Dhruv give us a quick demo, and then I'll have you discuss 300, if that makes sense. Go ahead, friend.
Yeah, sure. So, me and Flint were talking on the phone yesterday, and he said a great thing about AI. He said it's a value proposition multiplier. And I think that's a beautiful way to think about it. And so if you've gotten through 50, okay, you roll up your sleeves, you get the basics understanding of how to use the AI, right? But I know how to use a paintbrush, and I am not Picasso, right? So now you got the paintbrush. MEC 100, that's going to give you the foundations. MEC 200, you can roll up your sleeves and start building out things like your value proposition. It starts with your ICP, your initial customer profile, your customer first offer, your value proposition, all these things. It's taught by Toby, who, if you haven't met in the guild, he's very active in the guild. The thing I love about Toby is the best way to learn something is to actually struggle through and go through and do it, right? And for years, Toby and his wife, Elle Wilson, they built a business, they built a community. They've been in touch with Meclabs for, I don't know, maybe 10 years, maybe longer. They're Australians. They visited us in Jacksonville. But the great thing about them is they're not like Toby's not like some professor who learned this in like a classroom or theoretically. Like he learned this by building and building and building. And so he's going to walk you through those different elements that it takes to build MEC 300. We're not going to get MEC 300 yet, but I do want to mention this one thing about MEC 200. So MEC 300 is where you actually build your creative. And you might say, hey, I don't want to spend the time on MEC 200. I mean, I've got a landing page now. I've got emails. I've got campaigns. I just want to get advice on how to make those better. But what we found, especially, I mean, for many years, but especially when we launched the early versions of the guild, like me and Flint, we'd be doing live optimizations of pages. People would want, hey, let me get a better headline. Let me get a better button, whatever it is. But it always came down to that foundational element where he said, look, I cannot write a good enough headline for this landing page because at the end of the day, you don't have a customer first offer. You don't have a value proposition. So that's what you build in MEC 200. You are essentially, I think Flint might call it sharpening the axe before you're chopping the wood on your landing page. And I think it's so helpful to go through and wrestle with all of those things like value proposition, customer first offer, because then that's the true aha. Then MEC 300, we can just help you shape it and present it the right way, which I won't get into yet, Flint, because you asked me not to, but that's kind of an idea of MEC 200.
Oh, it's perfect, Dan. It's perfect. And, you know, let me just suggest this. Probably one of the most powerful aspects, look at my screen if you could. Let's go just back to normal MeclabsAI, of this whole platform that is not being yet appreciated, but is going to blow you away, especially when you see what's coming in 30 days. It's right here. And Dhruv is going to demonstrate for a moment. We're not asking you to learn how to use this tool yet, but it's been my experience that almost everybody underestimates its power. Look, guys, I've been here since before there was a landing page builder. I helped the first company that's released one. I had the guys that did Unbounce over at my summit learning. I mean, we've built the first courses. There's nothing out there like this. And I was impressed enough that we acquired the company and merged two groups together. And so I want you to just take a moment and see its power. And then I'm going to show you how you can like take a deep breath and sigh of relief that you don't have to learn a lot, and that it'll be easy for you to sort of plug into this in the next course coming up. But for now, just take a quick look. So I will I've clicked, but Drew, I'm going to stop my screen share and have you just give us a quick overview, okay? Go ahead, buddy.
Sounds good, Glenn. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you guys see my screen.
Yep.
Cool. So I was just analyzing one of the websites, and it kind of gives me all the information, and then good bits of what I can do to use something like that on a page. And if I want to quickly create a page, I can just open up the builder by clicking on that side window. Once I'm here, I can always go to my history and I can select that same exact content that I generated, and it helped me produce all this content for me, right? So I have my expert and everything. And what I can now do is I have set of templates, and these are all organized for like lead generation, subscription, etc., e-commerce, whatever your purpose is. So I'll pick one of the templates. And when I select one of the templates, I can click preview. It walks me through exactly what the page would look like, not only on desktop, but also on mobile. So I have the flexibility of seeing how the page is designed, organized, everything. I can click on use this template. And then as I'm working through this page, so I can give it, my first add offer, right? And then right over here, you have the entire page available. This I can work side by side any content that is generated over here that I can use and take my micro ES1, micro ES2, etc. Right? So I can literally copy paste this right here in the builder also. And
I'm
not
going to
only
jump
can
in
I,
right here and say this because I didn't do this. So if I'm bragging now, I'm bragging actually on Dhruv and Kaveen. Most of your builders they work on rows and columns, and you're very limited. Have you seen how like you're? I don't want to. I'm not trying to beat a brand up. They're just so limited. You can change anything here. You can change color, background. Show them the image library. Throw
yeah,
an image up there. Change the image, Drew. Just
sure.
yeah.
So I'll click on this image, and there is a background image that kind of has that pattern. I can click on replace. Now I can upload an image from my computer, but what we have done is we have already partnered with a royalty-free stock image provider that I can literally take that and type in anything that I want, right? So this is related to oil. So oil, I just search for oil quickly, see what I can find. So, oil, car oil, I think. Something like that. And it'll find like, mechanics, the shops, the whatever I want to do. So I'll just use like this really nice image of an engine. Now, when I have this image, I can kind of move the, Ferrari engine around
So you see the
however I
difference?
want.
Do you see the precision? See how much? Yes. Keep going. Keep going, Drew.
Yeah, I can add like a color overlay. Now you can see that there is black text over this image. So all I have to do is kind of add like a color overlay, change the transparency. But as soon as I change the color, the text automatically adapts to the color. So we've done little things. We've tried to minimize the interface as much as we can so you can be in and out of this product as fast as possible. You can make changes, move things around, and if you want to add new things to the page, I can click on elements, and I have all these different elements, whether it's a video, whether it's a button, you name it. We have different widgets, even a countdown timer if you want to build urgency. All that is available. And on top of that, it's not just a single page. You can actually create an entire funnel, meaning you can take them from a lead generation to an upsell, to a downsell, to a thank you page, to a webinar. You can create a series of pages that are part of a single campaign, and helps you drive, kind of, understand where your bottlenecks are, and you can take the visitor to the next page through emails or rerunning ads, etc., all through the same campaign. And once I'm done making some of these changes, and I'm trying to be as quick as possible here, but I can see the preview of my page. By the way, whenever you're working on this, anything you design on mobile is completely separate. In fact, it creates two different versions of your page, one for desktop and one for mobile. So you
You know
can,
why that's important? So somebody in conversion, tell me why that's important. To be able to not have responsive, but to customize the mobile. Tell me why that's important.
Because everything shows up differently on mobile. And if people are annoyed by your website, they're going to leave.
yeah.
You can optimize for a higher conversion rate if you have those separate, so you can make the mobile experience perfect and the desktop perfect. And look, guys, this is all hosted. And tell them about SEO, Drew.
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing first, you can connect any of your domain right over here. You don't have to, what do you call it? Know, like own a website somewhere else on WordPress and worry about like, what do I do with this hosted page? You can literally create a subdomain on your domain management and host that right there. Within every single page, we have, if I click on the settings over here, we have option for SEO. I can make the page crawlable on the search engine. If I want to add any Facebook or any pixel tracking, I can drop that code right over here also on the page. Moreover, whenever I do share this page on social media, and I'm going through this fast, but I hope that the recording you can kind of slow down and
Yeah.
welcome to join MEC 300 and I'd be happy to share everything again on that too. But in the social share settings, you can literally set your settings, add an image, thumbnail, etc. All that you can update your branding, manage the entire process of creating your own
Change it,
brand.
Drew, change the entire brand all at once. Change all the colors. Would you?
Sure. Yeah, so on the side there's this orange colors and the blue colors and etc. I can literally make them into purple. For example, I can create my entire color palette. I can select my buttons and buttons are orange. I want them to be purple. And as soon as I do that, you will notice that it just adapted to that purple color for my buttons right away. So again, I'm showing like 10% of what this thing does in the most fastest
Some of you
possible.
that are agencies, let me tell you, this is your whole business. You can use AI, you can stand up the landing pages, you can create the funnel, you can do it way faster than anybody expects and at a higher quality level. It's mind blowing. And I think most people are looking at MeclabsAI and seeing all the deep thinking and all the great outputs that are coming from the interactions, and they're underestimating that when you combine it, you're connecting hands and brains. And now you can actually go into the world and take that thinking and make it alive. And I don't think, like when I share this with a CEO, I can't even get to this part. It's so much, Drew, I've got a shift to stay on schedule. John, I'm coming for you quick. Dan, I'm about to call on you right now. But I ambushed Drew and drug him on here to show you this. Do you see why? You need to factor this bigger in your future thinking, and it's just going to get better. This is my goal. I'll say it out loud. It's tough, but I want you to be able to produce a high converting landing page in 10 minutes. And when I can do that, I'm going to produce 20 in a day. I am. I'm going to use brute force, run more tests, get better results, get them quicker.
One last thing I
Yes.
wanted one last thing I wanted to show, tell you guys about that we've been secretly working on is the less you have to put your time in, we're doubling down on that and really making it so that all the content on the page actually gets generated through our MeclabsAI engine. So when you select a template, it already will have your branding on it and your content on it at about 80% accuracy.
Yeah, and frankly, my developers have been secretly working on this to surprise me behind the scenes. That's not even on the normal boards I've been seeing. The theory is this: some of you can't. Here's the theory. Are you ready? Some of you have got horrible taste. You can't design a page if your life depended on it. No matter what we give you, it's going to be ugly. So let's just admit it. And let's not promise people things we can't deliver. Like, I can't do that for you. I can't bridge that gap. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to stand the whole page up, expertly designed with highly aesthetic people that follows our methodology, and we'll port all of your thinking from MeclabsAI onto the page. And then all you have to do is screw it up. It's easier because you might just think, I want to change these words here in this little bit. And you can do that. But what you don't know is how to get that box aligned so that it has enough margin around it in white space to make it pretty. And we don't want you to worry about that. So we think like, look, a year ago, AI could stand up a page, but that's like big deal. Does anybody care that you can stand up a page if it doesn't convert and drive like who cares? What's hard is to stand up a high converting page almost instantly. So we're aiming towards the 10-minute landing page, and Dhruv is on the cutting edge. And here he is sharing, and I'm grateful. Dan is working with Dhruv to teach MEC 300. And Dan, are you screen sharing, or do I go back to my screen?
I mean, I could pull up the circle space or something. Do you want me to do that, or are we going to?
The last Cliff just ran in here and tell me the circle's down. I think it's back
circle's
up.
back up.
Okay, I'll leave it to you, Dan. Go ahead. So Dan and Dhruv are teaching 300, and I'm going to say this for the 100th time because you need to hear it 100 times. You come to 50 to get productive with AI. What do you do next? Well, you need to learn the fundamental psychology that drives a yes. So that's MEC 100. You can take that on your own and get certified and assessed. There's quizzes, everything. You come to 200 to figure out your offer. You come to 300 to do your creative. And over to you, Dan. Tell them how the builder and what you do and it all connects. Go.
All right. Can you see circle now?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So first, I'll show you where I'll mention where some of the stuff is in the circle. I just want to first explain real quick. Okay. So we talked about, you can see on the left here, on the left side of my screen, here's all the different spaces for the different courses. All right. So we talked about in 200. So now you've got your ICP, your initial customer profile, your customer first offer, your value proposition. I mean, now let's start making some money from this, right? Having some fun. And so with MEC 300, the goal is it's 8 weeks long, and the goal is to get your funnel built. And so we walk step by step through the Meclabs methodology. Every week we cover a different element of the Meclabs methodology, which a lot of it you can see in MEC 100, the different micro yeses, to help you build your funnel. So you can track with us, right? And you can go through micro yes 1, micro yes 2, 3, all of it, get your page built. You can build it in the MeclabsAI page builder like Drew is showing. We've got the page built, then we got a traffic driver, we got what happens after the page and get that funnel built. You can track with us in 8 weeks and do that, and some people do. However, I like to say I would never be a good teacher or professor because you're all adults. You know what I mean? If you just want to hop in one session once and get some inspiration or give someone some feedback, that's great. You know what I mean? If you just like sitting back and attending and never saying anything, that's great. I see Mamadou on. He's been so helpful. I don't think rarely we've even given feedback. I feel like we haven't even given much to Mamadou because I don't really think we've reviewed any of his stuff, but he's always on every week providing group coaching to who's ever on and giving some advice. So
Mamadou, wave it, folks. Wave at people. Actually, he's got his hand up too. So Dan, you may call on him before you're done, but my impression of him is that he's highly intelligent and he's gifted and he's going to crack this and he's going to generate significant revenue through it. I really do. If I had to bet, I wouldn't want to bet against him. I'm betting on him, but keep going, Dan.
Yeah. So the way I look at it, and if you were on yesterday's main AI Guild session, I was talking about this. When I was a copywriter, and still today, one of my main challenges is I would be stuck, right? I would get a job starter in an agency. Okay, I got to work on this. How am I ever going to get another idea, right? Or even now with what we're working on, there's some things you want to do, you get stuck. So to me, MEC 300, it's that hour together each week. It's a cool glass of water. It's inspiration, group coaching to help you get unstuck for whatever you're working on, get new ideas. For me and Drew, because we're leading it from the Meclabs methodology, from MeclabsAI, we work that in. But it's also a great group of other folks too who are willing to dedicate their time and give you some coaching. So I want to get Mamadou's thoughts on what he thinks of the session. But first, I just want to show you real quick where all this is in circle. So you can register for the live trainings. If you can see the right side of my screen here, you can register, or the left side of my screen, you can register for all the live trainings here to actually get the attendance info in Zoom. And then each one has a space. In the MEC 300 space.
Well, slow down.
Go ahead.
Everybody look, I'm looking at my notes. 50's ending. You need to be here, even right now, But today you need to register so you get the Zoom invites and all the other things. You need to decide. Like if you want to go to 100, Steve, are you on here, pal? Could you give them a link to the LMS dashboard where they can sign up and take 100? Put it right in here. And if you want to get into 200, you can, Dan's going to show you. Dan, slow down on that register piece because that's where people get stuck afterwards. Go ahead.
Yeah, just click register for live training. You'll see the different sessions, 200, there's 1,300, wherever they are. You click on one and you just click that you're going. You can add it to your calendar, join virtual event. That's got the Zoom link. If you ever forget, you can go right here. And if you click that you're going, you will get regular email reminders from Circle also that, it's coming up. But I mean, what I do, I just add things to my calendar and then I know for myself that I can go. So those are all at the register for live training on the education side. As I mentioned, each space has its own, each session or course has its own space in Circle that each leader is using in a different way. You can have conversations there, ask questions, post your work. In MEC 300, we essentially do three things in our space. One, we have that hour together, right? That is just such a gift and a thing of value in the world today to just have an hour together in an interactive way. So what I try to focus that hour mostly on, what we try to do as a group, is working on people's either their funnel or the questions they have about the methodology. So we don't do a lot of time in just rote teaching. The teaching only comes as an example from when we're coaching someone. So for example, today, we looked at a webinar example. Someone was doing a webinar where we're trying to work on MicroES 1 and MicroES 2. We looked at a contest. Someone else was trying to do a contest. So we got principles out of that, not just on the MicroES 1 and MicroES 2, but also how to create a webinar that has value, how to create a contest that has value. What I do each week is I'll post the notes from our work the previous week, as you can see here. So here are some notes from some of the stuff we worked on. But then also for the next week, okay, so next week we're working on MicroES 3 and MicroES 4. I'll post some content where you can choose to go how deep or how high level you want into the methodology, right? You do that on your time. You get as deep as high level as you want. Then when we spend that hour together, you can ask questions about that methodology. You can get group coaching about your actual funnel. It's value entirely focused on you. I'm not just teaching you something that you can see a video for. So those are a few of the things we do. I post the notes from what we talked about that session, as well as the upcoming work and content. Cliff will go in and he'll post the actual video replay if you can't watch a session. But then also, we do the group coaching based on the order that you post your work into the MEC 300 space. So for example, this week, one of the people we worked on was Mike Fisher. There you go. Here's Mike Fisher's MY1 and MY2. He talked about, he worked with MeclabsAI to come up with some possible ideas. He's got this idea for a contest and possible headlines. That's what we worked on. Next week, we're doing MicroES 3. Look, David's on the call. He jumped the gun. He's already got his work in for next week. He's going to be the first one that it'll be a rare week. I won't be there. Drew will be covering it, but Drew will be first on David Klein and helping him out because he was very eager and got his stuff in so early. So those are the big three things I wanted to leave you with is for MEC 300, you can choose to build a funnel in 8 weeks with the Meclabs methodology, step by step. You can track with us, or just attend, coach someone, get inspiration, whatever works for you, whatever you need in that hour. If you can only attend for half hour, whatever you need. The other thing is there will always be every week some of the methodology in here, videos, articles, whatever it is, so you can learn that methodology and be ready for the next week. There'll always be the video replays. And lastly, if you're going to track with us, if you want to do all 8 weeks or just 1 week, you post your work in here. You get feedback, not just from me and Drew, from a great group of people, and you get ideas, you get unstuck to help improve your funnel. So with that, I do see Mamadou's hand raised. Oh, Flint.
Let's do that. I'm going to run out of time here if I don't move on faster. Go, Mohamedou. But not you. You slow down and just tell us what you've got. Either one of you. That's all important. I just got a surprise. Here's the truth. I got a big surprise for you. And I want to share it with you pretty soon and have time to share it with you. But Mohamedou, go ahead, friend.
Okay, thank you. As far as MEC 300, it's very good. And who can, if you have a chance to spend an hour a week sitting with Daniel Burstein and listening, it helps you think of other things as well. I'm just behind in my application of it because I reworked my MEC 200, my offer, but I'm trying to get there. It's just I haven't, but hopefully I'll be there soon. And my question was regarding before I used, depending on the plan on MeclabsAI, there was a number of workspace and number of pages and things like that. So I went to the pricing page, but I did not see that information. I wanted to know how many pages do we get and all of those things with what Drew presented.
You're talking about at the various levels, Mohammed?
Yes. Yes.
I thought it was on that page, and I'd be surprised if it isn't. But I'm going to do this. I'm looking real quick. John, get ready, and I will. I'll just look real fast. I think sometimes there's a drop down. Like here it is, up to 100 AI powered super funnels at 300, 10 at 100 at the.
Hey, Flint, you're not sharing your screen, by the way, if you want to be showing us.
Yeah, it's on there, Mohamedou. Let's take that offline and make sure you get like whatever questions you still have, send over to us and we'll get you the right answers. So I don't run out of time. Is that okay?
Yes,
right.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, group, this is what it takes to graduate. Let's review again. You've invested at the right level if you do that. You've planned your growth through the learning tracks. Very important. That means you've registered with one of these groups. Yeah. Thanks. I need an AI bot just to share my screen for me intuitively so I don't have to keep doing this. But you're in the right track. So everybody on here that's new, you need to be in the right track. We've talked about Circle. You're comfortable working with the basics. Here are the basics. I know how to use AI Mentor. I know how to save my work. I know how to share my work. I know how to change my basic settings. I know how to navigate. If you can do those things, then you've got the fundamentals down. The next one's kind of hard for me to measure, but you need to be integrating MeclabsAI more into your workflow in order to get the most value out of it. So however you do that, think about, before I started, how was I using this tool? Now that I'm 7 weeks in, how can I use it? And how am I going to use it to change my workflow? Finally, you're sharing, if it's good, you're sharing with people. And I thought it's worth putting this in here. In our settings, you can actually join the reseller program. And if you refer something, you can make money from that. And so I'll just leave you with that. I'm not pushing that, but you need to be aware of it because some of you might refer and not get the upside, but there's upside for you if you'd like it. And more. Some people are building significant businesses, even verticals. But let's just leave it at that. Those are the steps. Now that leads me to number 3, and I'm going to come to that in just a moment. Number 3 is, okay, so how do we take all this and start producing results? And John Bush is leading a team that's doing our AI engineering and managing enterprise clients that are spooling up, along with Peter that's on here. And Elizabeth may or may not be. There she is. She's been helping a ton. And a lot of this is her deep thinking and work. John is going to share with you, I think, a gift. He's got something that if he communicates it well, could help you go home right now and get a meaningful result. I'm not kidding. I think that's true. So with that, I leave it to John.
You got to stop sharing, Flint.
All right.
So let's see if I can communicate well. This is going to be a bit of a fire hose for everyone. And I know many of you on the call, but I wanted to just walk you through this really quickly. Elizabeth and I started working together about 2 months ago, and we saw the value. Never had done this type of an approach or thinking. But what I got really excited about was the consistency. And it was allowed me to, I worked with an agency that basically took 6 weeks to do what in the background, Flint, I just sent you in 12 minutes. Now, that doesn't mean it's ready in 12 minutes. That means I have it prepared so that I can do my own analysis on it, just to vet it, to make sure it works. But we came up with something we call the 10-step analysis. It's gone up to 11, we might drop down to 9 because as we get more tools added to the platform, we tighten it. But essentially what Elizabeth had done is she had written books on how to use the platform and what do each one of these things do. So this one is her example of what the conversion index analyzer. Now you can use AI Mentor, but Elizabeth put it into a format that people can people might want to grasp and put in hard paper, and it was the way we go. And we came off with a series of steps on how we think it might be a really good way to get into a conversation with a customer. So I'm going to now move to screens. And Flint, I'm going to use Cubikes because I want to show one of the things that we did with it.
I don't. That's fine.
So we were working with a company up in Canada called Cubikes. It was actually through a friend, and he asked us, how can Meclabs help me, and how can I be better at helping the customer? And what we said is, well, let's do an analysis of where they sit. And we put together a series of 7 or 8 steps, which is working the apps. And we had 3 experts we had developed on our own that we've sort of obfuscated what the prompting were, so we could just go off and do it and come back with it. But essentially, we start off with a conversion index analyzer. We take a look at how well the site is really mapping the content and how it's going to engage the visitors. Right after that, then we go into a web page analyzer. So we go through, how is it functioning? Is it working well? Am I presenting? Oh, that's conversion. Sorry. Am I getting incentive versus friction? Is there anxiety? How am I addressing it in the process? We get to headline builder. So we take a look very quickly at, what are their key messages and how is it functioning? Not to slow everyone down, I'm going to share you the link with it. We then take them through the explanation builder. And again, taking the prompt step by step. We keep hunting down on credibility builder. We were just working with a customer that actually had no testimonials, no references, no backup. And quite frankly, they had this claim, but they didn't have the credibility behind it. So you looked at it and you said, well, are they really doing what they say they're doing? Or can I really trust that they're there? The appeal builder. So it comes back and starts talking about, am I really getting that core motivation to the customer? We take them through the exclusivity builder. Is what I'm offering them unique? And what words am I using, or what actions are I driving to actually incentivize that? Now, here's where I'm going to slow down a little bit. And the call to action. So how are they currently using their call to actions and how they can make it better? Very quickly, I get a view of what they're doing on their sites. But this is where it changed a little bit. We know our big competitor was Trek. And so what we did is we did a comparison of the Trek Canadian site versus Cubikes. And we started digging into what were our claims versus their claims. What is, how we position our value proposition? What are the benchmarks? How are we clear? Are we credible? Are we exclusive? What are the tips that we can do to start working on it? And that was really enlightening for us because it really helped us distill in the customer how they were going to position themselves. What I'm going to show you after this is we took 5 emails because we got on the Trek email list. We saved them, we copied them, we put them in a library, and then we asked, how do our emails compare to theirs and how we can make our offering more impactful than theirs? So simple. And we're following, the wonderful thing about this is we're following a methodology. We're following a framework. So we get consistency every time. It's not like I've got the president of the company on this call, but I got the junior marketing person on the second call. I've got the president of marketing on every single call. That's what's powerful. So then this is some of the ones that we do. We then begin a SWOT analysis, and we're looking at what our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We take a look at a value proposition specialist, which Elizabeth built, and we're really looking at how we're positioning ourselves, how are we setting ourselves apart? Are we clear? What's appealing? What's not? How do we enhance that appeal? How do we craft that perfect value proposition? And we take it there, and finally to the customer first objective. After I've done all this, the last thing we do is an ICP. I didn't include the ICP in here and some of the avatars and the buyer personas just because it takes a little bit. It's about 5 or 6 prompts, and I was just trying to pound through it, but I can get to that. Yeah, I went out of order.
How long did it take to do all this, John?
12 minutes.
Okay, team.
So, yeah,
you can't just keep going after you say that. Everybody needs to just stop. Okay, punch yourself in the face if necessary. Do you understand you're living in a new world? Because this is not just fast. This is high quality.
Yes.
How do you generate? It's like,
Stop,
what
John.
do you mean?
So what Peter, Elizabeth, and I will do at this point, we'll review it. So we still believe in hybrid intelligence. The human's still involved, and we're looking at it. We're looking for those things that may or may not fit, or how we can tweak and how we can make it better. We use the editor that Flint has shown you, hopefully in some of the sessions, where you can actually go into your chats, re-highlight things, focus on it, and we send it to the customer, and the customer's eyes bulge out. The other thing, though, I wanted to show you this is the email one I thought was really particularly clever, and that was sort of a combination of the team. But we started looking out, and we're now comparing we wanted to sell accessories. And so we're leveraging kind of the messaging that they're putting out, and we're building emails specifically to target what Trek's doing and how we're better with our accessories than Trek in the process and driving them to a call to action. So that was a bit of a different exercise, but it just led us that way because we had that information available. Did I get that done quick enough?
It's awesome. And how many of you would like to get a copy of that 10-step guide that these guys wrote? And how many of you think that if Elizabeth could had a Starbucks, we should all be buying her Starbucks? I mean, the spirit of this community is generous. If you're here and by the way, I don't know anybody here that's like this, but don't be just a taker, be a giver, and we'll all benefit from that. And that's the mindset, because they could literally say, that's a lot of work we did. And maybe even I'm giving this to somebody that might sell it, a customer that I'd like to sell. I mean, who knows what the risk is, but they're sharing it. So can we give them a big hand and thank them for that? And I mean, it's really the right spirit in the guild, and
Amazing.
it's legit, and and let's all keep helping each other. That's the spirit of this whole community. I remember when we launched everything, before you saw MeclabsAI, I wrote a paper called The Marketer in Chaos. Do you remember that? It was a bit of a manifesto. All I'm doing is living that out right now. And a part of that was, it's going to take a community to get through this. How many of you have seen that? We couldn't have built this without a community. And so now it's sort of incumbent on you to think, okay, so here's where I am. I've been given the tools I need to get right on the chessboard. So how do I make certain I've taken everything from these 7 weeks and I've really prepared myself? And the trick here, I would say, is to plan the growth of yourself and your business with this whole system here, because it's all here. The entire system is there with a giant brain to help you achieve it. The whole framework, 30 years of research, a methodology, but the difference this time is there's this genius who's getting smarter every day trying to help you execute it. And you can use that now. And that's the difference. And so with that in mind, I'll tell you sort of we'll land this plane in just a second. But John, why don't you tell folks how they can get a copy of this? And many of you, here's what I would be doing. I'd be getting into my next cohort, whatever that is. I might sign up for 100. If you haven't done that, finish 100. You can do it on your own pace. You can do that while you're getting into 200. Then get into 200 or 300, depending on your need. And when you're in there, I would say your next move is, and you can take the 100 while you're in one of those. Now you're positioned to take that guide that you just saw John do in 12 minutes, apply it to your own business. Because it'll take more than 12 minutes to stand up and execute it, right? It's great that the thinking is 12 minutes, but that thinking is useless. Burn it to the ground. It has no value if there isn't a bias for action. So you take that and put it into action. And let me just tell you, the reason I spent time sharing with you this today, MeclabsAI and the builder, is because so far AI isn't really going out in the world like it needs to and actually doing the work. We're going there fast as we can. And right now, it can start building your page for you. And that is not a small thing. That's action. That changes this from ideas and puts it in front of a customer. And I want the bridge from, here's what I'm hoping to see. Your thinking, your gifts, somehow fused with MeclabsAI that amplifies your value proposition. And now with that new capability, you're pointing that in the right places with your life. Yes, John.
I have to leave. I got a hard stop. So thanks, everyone. Hopefully we'll all talk to you all soon. I put my email in the chat. Okay.
Thanks, John. Awesome. Elizabeth, amazing.
Roy, John's in Canada. I think you guys should talk more. There's a lot we're building up over here. You should talk more. There may be some opportunities for you is what I'm thinking, Roy. Okay.
Excellent.
I'll bridge you together on that.
I appreciate it.
Anybody have a question for me now? Okay. Let me ask you this. I have one for you. So I know that our badges are real. They're legitimate. And we don't give them out like, people give out martial arts belts just because you showed up, or graduation certificates. So I went, and 50 is sort of the most foundational and in a sense the most basic. But how would you assess and give a badge to somebody? Take a look at my screen. You'll see, I'm going to share it right now. You'll see the criterion that tells me you're ready to move on. Can you see my screen now? Are you looking at these drop down toggles? Yes. So here's the one. The big ones are here. You're in the right tracks and you're comfortable working with these basics. You really like. I don't feel like running a test with you to see if you can do these 5 things. I don't know where to go when it's bigger, but here's how I'm going to run it right now. Irene, are you on here? I see your note taker. I can't see your face for some reason.
I'm here. Yep, I'm here.
Do you know how to use AI Mentor, how to save your work, share your work, change your basic settings, and navigate through the platform?
I do. Yep.
Okay. So I'm going to say Irene's got these nailed. I'm looking at you. Look at me, all of you. Do you know these 5 things, basically? How to use AI Mentor, how to save your work, how to share it, how to change your basic settings. This is a good time to ask about one of those things and the basics of navigation. That's just being able to move around in here, expand things, find your previous chats, get this out of the way, click through the directory, go over here to your settings, click on settings, check your workspace and make sure you have the right people in it.
Change. I do have a question.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, interrupted you.
It's all
I was
right.
just say, I did have a question when I was entering into like the little, I know you can hit that little arrow to double click to make that screen bigger.
Yes.
Is there an area on the text that you can double click to make that box bigger because like when I add in a document, it still stays small. So I have to scroll up and down to find it. Is there a way to make that text area bigger before it gives the results?
Are you talking about the entry field down here?
On the white part?
Let's just go here. Let's minimize this out of our way completely. So which part are you talking about? Look at my screen.
So like I can't see it just because I have the little zoom thing on, but at the very bottom when you start entering your question,
yeah.
And that's that part. And then
I hit that flex as the questions are going in so they can see what they're entering in more detail.
So does it get like when I know when it gives like that black part down there, when you're entering the question, I know when it gives the results, that whole thing gets bigger. But does that little thing when I'm entering it down there where it says message marketing professor, is there a way to make that area bigger so I can look to see what it is I've just put a chunk in?
Yeah, I'm going to have Steve think about, there's a way to have the box sort of get larger when you add more text. Let me check into that. But right now it doesn't do that, Christy. It only shows when you hit let then you can see it all.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was thinking. I was just making sure I wasn't missing anything.
No worries. Team, let me ask you this. Do you think you have these 5 things down?
Yes.
All right. If you do, would you just wave? Because I'm literally, we're paying attention. Okay. Because I want to give you an MEC 50 badge and you're taking your test right now for this part. Okay. So if you don't wave, I can't do it. All right. So, all right. Now I'm seeing we got it. All right. I'll add that to the criterion. Can wave both hands vigorously. All right. Now that means that I'm going to say that all of you have this down. So I'm going to not test you on this, but I'm just going to suggest that this isn't probably really winning unless you're using it more in your daily activity. Isn't that true? Like we really can say we've done good here, but I failed you. If you're not engaging more in your workflow with this, are you all using it more frequently now that you're getting more comfortable? Not
Yes.
if that's the case. Yeah. Is that because I'm taking another part of your test with you right now. Okay. I don't know how to do this when it gets too big, and so think about that later. Some of you teachers on here will figure this out, but I want to do what's real and right. And I can do it this way right now. And I think with that in mind, if I know that you're in your next growth track, you've picked one of these, you've gone over to Circle, you've registered, and you're ready to continue, then, going forward, you just want to be in those big Wednesday sessions when we're all together as a family. And then you want to be in your own small group. That's all you need to be in. and then start to use this. And then John gave you his email address. You can get those 10 steps. They actually published it in a book. It's really nice. It's designed and InDesign. Elizabeth spent about 1,600 hours trying to make John look smart, and that's a constant problem with her. And she's done that. She's made him look real smart with this. And Elizabeth, thank you again. We appreciate your help. And can you make sure that that link is in there? People know how to access that. Because I'm not going to give you homework, but if I was telling you homework, here's your homework. Get registered and go apply this in your business, the parts of it that make sense, so we can get closer to real impact, like real P&L, real results. That's the thing we're here for.